out of breath, but also 420 somewhere, and right now that somewhere is right here. So hello and welcome to a very special MJ Biz Con episode of The Cannabist Show. That's right, back-to-back special episodes, election day to Bizcon. We're here, we're doing it for you because we love you. My name is producer Vince, and here's your host, Ricardo Baca.
Oh man, Vince, thank you for that, and to everybody joining us today. Welcome to The Cannabist Show, where we talk about all things weed.
Hashtag all things weed.
That is the serious marijuana news and the fun stuff as well. In fact, if you pop onto The Cannabist right now, you can read stories about why the election just complicated some things for certain cannabis companies in Oregon.
It's going down in the Pacific Northwest, apparently.
We've got a new review of the latest PAX vaporizer, the PAX 3.
Our critic says it flirts with perfection.
And be sure to check out my editorial on what's next for the legalization movement after going 8 for 9 in the election.
It's hard to make a joke here when I haven't read it yet, but I promise too soon, dude.
Unprepared producer Vince, how you doing, my man?
I think unprepared pretty much sums it up. We're coming off this crazy long month, and just everything is culminating with our trip to Vegas in like 30 minutes now for, you know, the Cannabist Awards as well as the MJ Business Con, and it's just a lot of running around. I'll be ready, I think. How are you doing, Ricardo?
Oh man, dude, I'm the same. I just feel like I've been on this treadmill that only stops for a few hours each night so I can sleep, and this week is the end of a certain kind of mania, and then we can jump right into another strange post-election kind of mania right after this.
Absolutely.
But I'm looking forward to this. Cannabist Awards, by the time you guys are watching this, listening to this, they've already happened, but go to thecannabis.co, check out the winners, all the categories. We'll tell you more about that later. For those of you at MJ Biz this week, reach out. I'm at Bruvs, Vince is at Vinny Chant. We are out there. All of our guests are out there. We're going to talk about this convention and others. And I do want to note that our show today is underwritten by Bluebird Botanicals. Now, Bluebird Botanicals is a company that creates hemp-derived CBD oil and other herbal supplements. So they sell them worldwide. Be sure to check them out, bluebirdbotanicals.com. With that, Vince, I think it's time that we just jump right into the weekend weed.
You know, I think you're right, but whoever this belongs to, I have it for you. I'm sorry. I planned on giving it back. I made it back without it. Let's do it. Let's do it for the right weekend weed, y'all.
There you go. A little pick-me-up in the form of the golden pineapple. So we are starting this weekend weed right here in Denver, where we can finally say that the city's social marijuana use measure, Initiative 300, has passed.
And it only took Denver's Elections Bureau a full week to count all the ballots, but this means there will soon be social pot use inside some Denver businesses, like certain parts of 21 and over bars, restaurants, yoga studios, art galleries, bookstores, please bookstores, and theaters.
So, you know, this is how the social marijuana use initiative will ostensibly work in Denver. These interested businesses would first seek a letter from a neighborhood group or a business improvement district, and then they would go to the city for a permit, and if all goes accordingly, the business could then allow smoking, vaping and edibles inside and smoking outside, and that is only in areas that are designated for 21 and older customers.
The measure's primary organizer told us this is a victory for cannabis. Consumers who, like alcohol consumers, simply want the option to enjoy cannabis in social settings.
You know, elsewhere in the weekend weed events, the New York-based company that sells Corona and Svedka vodka said that they are looking to create a commercial drink that would have alcohol and weed in it.
And everybody listening can go ahead and file this news under stuff that wouldn't have happened before this last election.
Exactly, stuff that wouldn't have been said because Constellation Brands CEO said, quote, there are going to be alcoholic beverages that will also contain cannabis, end quote, adding that his company is very much looking at that exact space. So the brand says they see pot legalization as an opportunity and, quote, if there's a lot of money involved, it's not going to be left to small mom and pops, end quote.
Yeah, that sounds like his not so subtle way of saying, yeah, we've been watching these cannabis companies making a mint, and it's almost time for us to jump into the weed game, please, with a Four Loko type of drink.
Oh, responsibility first, right?
Always.
And finally, here is our colleague Alicia Wallace with this week's Quick Hit.
In Washington State, High CBD products may account for a small portion of retail sales in marijuana, but that share is growing, and that growth is coming from some non-traditional places. Headset, a business intelligence firm based in Seattle, dove into point-of-sale data across marijuana stores in its home state and provided the results exclusively to the Cannabist. Headset's report shows that products containing high amounts of the non-psychoactive compound cannabidiol, also known as CBD, are gaining market share, landing at just above 3% as of October 2016. Additionally, those products are increasingly popular among women as well as older consumers. But with greater demand comes some interesting wrinkles. Officials for Botanica Seattle, which makes the popular Mr. Moxie's mints, say the homegrown supply chain for CBD oil isn't robust, and are also feeling the pinch as some competitors churn out products that include CBD oil derived from Chinese industrial hemp. For The Cannabist, I'm Alicia Wallace with this week's Quick Hit.
Thank you, Alicia. And now it is time to bring out our first guest, who runs her own cannabis-centric marketing and publicity agency. It's my pleasure to welcome Cannabrand's Olivia Mannix to the Cannabist Show. Hey there.
Hey, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm awesome.
Wonderful. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
Your first time on the couch.
It is.
I love it. We've had some of your clients in here
Yep.
before, but
Absolutely.
this is the first time we get you in here.
Well, thanks for having me.
Olivia, important questions first here at the
Okay,
Cannabist Show.
Sounds great.
Indica or sativa? Where are you at on the spectrum?
That is a great question. It depends on what mood I'm in, of course. So usually more of a laid back, relaxing mood. The indica, into couch.
Yeah.
And then sativa for a more energized going out or working type of feel. But I'd like to say I stick with hybrid to sativas mostly.
Okay,
Yeah.
sure.
Absolutely.
I dig it.
Yes.
Are you like all day, every day? Are you like after work? Are you like weekends only? Where are you at on your use spectrum?
Probably at least once a day, more towards the end of the day.
Sure.
Sometimes in the middle of the day if we're being creative with brainstorming.
Oh, nice. You do.
Yep.
Like if you know that you're brainstorming with or for a client, you'll employ cannabis for that?
Yes, absolutely.
That's cool. Does the client sometimes join?
Yeah, sometimes, and especially when we're sampling the products or doing a competitive analysis of products in the market, we will.
Hey man, R&D work in the cannabis industry is still work,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
Olivia, when you announced that you were doing a cannabis agency 3 years ago, I remember that. We've known each other this entire time. The concept was kind of unusual. I remember, oh wow, okay, an agency dedicated to cannabis. And now you have lots of company in the space, lots of PR, marketing, advertising agencies in cannabis, marijuana. So why does the marijuana industry need a professional marketing team?
It needs a marketing team that has their best interest at stake. So basically, we have a team of people that research and are up to date on all the laws, regulations with packaging, compliance, and advertising so that we can help our clients. We need marketing because, as you see, this industry is booming and it's very competitive. So we need to have brands that can differentiate themselves and have differences in how they're getting their message out.
Ultimately, it's just like any other industry, right?
Exactly.
And whether you're an airline or an oil and gas company or an alcohol company, you probably have marketers in those companies as well.
Exactly.
So, okay, well, it's interesting to see. Are you surprised at all to see so many of these companies coming into the space suddenly, and now you have more competition? Or?
It's really amazing in terms of the agencies coming into the space. Yeah, I mean, it's great. I love competition, and I actually have been more keen to partner with agencies because we've had so much work that we like to make sure to be able to service all the clients. So we'll partner with other agencies as well to help with projects.
Congratulations on your success. That's
Thank
great
you.
to hear. And that kind of leads into my next question,
Sure.
because you and I had drinks last week, a great conversation with some good people, and I know now that you're working with some multinational ad agencies who are poking around in this space. They're wetting their feet before deciding if they want to jump in head first. So, so tell me about the interest that you're starting to see with these big corporate agencies, because this is the biggest of the big, right?
Absolutely. So we've had quite a few agencies actually reach out over the years. And most recently, a very big one that's headquartered in New York City that has over 300 offices worldwide has reached out and really wants to partner with us. So we're kind of dipping our toes in to see if it would be a good fit so that we can help companies all over the world.
Sure, and can you speak to these big marketing agencies' sudden interest in this? Does it have to do with the election? Did some of them see it coming? Hey, 9 states are voting on cannabis. Maybe we should be paying attention to this industry that we've been ignoring.
Right. It's so funny because in the beginning when we started, it was just so taboo, and people, it's like my family or friends were like, "Oh, Olivia, you're getting into the pot industry," and it was just such a, a taboo, almost like frowned upon thing. But now that I've had the chance and a voice to be able to speak to people about the industry, it's really come such a long way in terms of all the brands that have gotten into it, all the amazing people and trailblazers in the industry. So I believe that, just like any other industry, these agencies want to get in and they want to, they want a piece of the pie.
Sure.
Absolutely.
It makes sense. One of the things I've really loved watching as we've kind of sat front row to the development of this industry over the last 3 years is really how it's grown up, especially in the areas that are your expertise, so especially in how it presents itself to its customers. Can you talk about some of these changes in retail design, branding, packaging, and beyond?
Absolutely. So there are so many different segments of cannabis. When I speak to journalists often, they're asking me, like, tell me about weed, what have you, and there are, so many strains, there are so many different types of ailments that cannabis can cure or, help or medicate. There's not only just smoking the flower, there's the patches, there's bath salts, there's topicals, there are edibles, there are capsules, CBD specific, THC specific, or both, getting that entourage effect. And in terms of some work that we've done, definitely branding, so coming up with brand identities as well as user experience. So going into a retail location, an awesome dispensary we worked with in California is called Caliva. They're in San Jose, and they have an amazing dispensary. If you haven't had the chance to check them out, their brand is awesome, and then their dispensary is gorgeous. It has pops of California lifestyle, greenery, and they've really portrayed the California kind of surf, Ron John style with health and wellness juxtaposition. So that's really interesting.
Well, I know you guys have helped a couple different companies in this space with a full-on rebranding effort. So what are the things that you hear from these companies when they come to you and say, hey, we know we need a new brand, but we don't know what it is?
Yep. So there's 2 types of individuals or companies that come to us. They're either have been working in the space for a while and they've been growing and kind of the black market side of things, or they're new to the industry. So a lot of the people who've been doing it for a while come to us saying, hey, like, it's time for us for a rebrand. We want to have a more professional image. We really want to, show that we have health and wellness. We want to change our imagery, what have you. So we'll help them with that. And then for newcomers in the industry, they are either investors or just entrepreneurs starting businesses, and they come straight to us with their idea in mind, and we basically make that dream happen for them.
That's interesting that you have direct exposure to both of these ganjapreneuers, the people who are brand new to the space and the people who have been here for years, if not decades.
So we've really positioned ourselves as kind of the bridge to mainstream and the cannabis space. We've been reached out to by a lot of different types of companies, some celebrities who are looking to get into the space, and they feel comfortable coming to Cannabrand so that they can get educated and informed on how to navigate the crowded area. So,
well, I mean, you bring up a good point. I was just in Northern California, up in northern Mendocino about 3-4 weeks ago, talking with a grower out there, growing semi-legally, and one of the interesting things he had to say was, forever we've just grown pot and put it in giant bags and it disappears, But now he's like, I don't know, if we're looking at a regulated future, maybe I want to brand my pot. Maybe I want to individually package it in, grams or eighths, and so I can sell those to the stores. But so then there's some sort of customer loyalty to me, because beforehand it was just generic weed. And so are you seeing any of that, especially coming out of California's decades-old cannabis system?
Absolutely. I mean, we've been contacted from people all over, from Southern to Northern California. A huge trend I'm also seeing is a wholesale market. So cultivators not only having their own black labeled products, but also white labeling. So basically them producing or extracting concentrates and then selling it or wholesaling it to an edibles or a concentrates company. So there's a lot of different verticals where cultivators and companies can work through.
it's almost like they've been doing it for so long generically. Now they want some acknowledgement that, yeah, we do grow.
Yep.
Every grower thinks they grow the best weed, right?
Absolutely.
So it's like they want people to know that it's coming from that area of Humboldt or Trinity or Mendocino. So we have more to talk about on this special MJ Biz Con episode. First of all, are you ready?
Oh, I'm so excited, yes.
I'm not ready, and we leave in like 15 minutes.
Oh my
but
gosh.
we'll talk about that after this next guest, but thank you for joining
so
us
much.
very briefly.
Great.
Sit right there, you're good, you're perfect. Now, I want to throw to our very own Grandmaster of Ganj, and of course that is Professor Pat for this week's entry in the new Cannabis lexicon.
Mother. A plant usually large that is in a vegetative state from which clones are cut. It is then the mom for all the plants that will eventually be harvested. Losing a mother plant can sometimes be the end of a genetic line, which is really sad, although not as sad as losing your actual mom in most cases. To hear that in a sentence, I lost my sour diesel mom. We should say some words.
Thank you, Professor Pat. It is always educational. Now it's time to bring out our second guest, who, like Olivia, is a very special guest here on the show. And while I know you all know his name and his voice, do you really know the man, the myth, the legendary producer? Let's bring him on out, my friend, Vince Chandler, producer Vince, on the Cannabist Show for the first time. Yo, how's it going?
Hey.
Good to see you.
You did great.
Thank you.
This is interesting. It's a long walk from my green screen all the way up.
I know,
I'm happy to be
Vince.
with you and hanging out.
Sitting on the couch.
Yeah, only twisted my arm for a couple of weeks to get me out here too.
Well, I figure, you know, when I travel, people are like, "Hey, love the show. We listen every week. We watch every week," and a lot of people ask about you. So I'm like, people need to know.
But
Vince.
has anybody really ever asked for more of me?
Well, I don't know if they've asked for more, but they want to know you better. So that's why you're here.
Then I'm happy to be
goddammit.
here. Let's introduce me.
Real
Hi,
talk.
everybody. Yes.
Vincent Chandler,
Yes.
Indica Sativa.
Oh, that's a rough one. I'm definitely an active person. I work way too much, and I'm always going. And I'm an all-day stoner, except for when I'm being paid by the Post, obviously, and when I'm doing like real collar, like white collar work. And so, mornings, afternoons, I have my favorite sativas, but I do mix in hybrids into the late day. I'm a nerd about everything, even this. So like, indicas start when the sun goes down. It's like, you know, you switch to martinis at night from beer, right? So it's, you know, sativas when the sun's up, and then a high
Because
class indica
otherwise
at
you're
night.
just drinking beer all day until the sun goes
Yeah,
down.
who
and
wants
then
to do that, really? Like, yeah,
Wow,
so-
man, that is dedication, and
complicated,
also
isn't it?
you didn't disappoint, because I thought you'd be expectedly complicated about your own ingestion patterns.
I've had a lot of practice, and I think I finally figured out what I really like. So
Okay, so this is fun to kind of turn the table a little bit, because now I get to talk to you, ask you some hard questions. You know, Vince, here we are at the dawn, the precipice of legalization of this substance. Yet there are a whole host of other substances, some of which are legal, some of which are illegal. So, real talk, what's your favorite substance?
I'm so happy my mom is listening to this show right now.
Hey, Vince's mom!
You know, my favorite intoxicant is absolutely cannabis. I'm not a medical patient. I've never, like, I didn't have my red card in any red card states that I've lived in. I've never pretended really that it was I think it has medicinal value to me, but I don't see myself needing it. So I've always, you know, recreated with it and had fun with it. And, you know, I was a punk rat skateboarder who smoked weed and everything that they did growing up. And I've tried other intoxicants. I've tried other things. And, you know, we just, if I mix it right, it gets me exactly where I'm trying to go every time.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. About 4 years ago, weed became my favorite intoxicant.
Yeah.
Olivia, where are you at? Let's bring you in.
Absolutely. Yeah, you should be part of this.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely love recreating with cannabis, and I also use it as a medicine. It helps me with my anxiety.
Sure.
So it's, you know, a great versatile plant.
There you go. This is a new era. 3 people just talking openly and honestly about our affinity for marijuana.
I have a young cousin who grew up in Fort Collins who lives in Denver now, and I was talking to her. She just moved into the city, and I'm still pretty new to Denver. I've only been here a couple of years, and I was like, hey, where should I go? Where should I be boozing? She's like, oh, nobody drinks anymore. She's like, we all just get high and hang out instead, or we go on adventures. And like nobody wants to go to a bar anymore. And I was like, oh. College for me was less than 10 years ago, and that's all we did. Like, this is really new, brave new world stuff.
I can't do the hangovers anymore, so
yeah. As a student, I would have gotten it. Yeah, I was like, I'd much rather get just super stoned if there was the social aspect to it that there is now, 8 years later.
Nobody drinks anymore. Yeah. Well, I somehow think people are still drinking, but you know, that's just how it works.
That's the 21-year-old view on it.
Vince, I want you to take our viewers, listeners, behind the scenes of some of the things that you've shot for us in the last year. I mean, we've really been able to invest more in video and multimedia here at the Cannabist, and obviously you are that one-person team with the help of Don and Katie and some others in the house. But let's start with your first ever film that you've made.
Yeah, I shot a film now. Yeah,
As California Goes, debuted right before the election. You know, in brief, it's a 15-minute documentary short about California on the precipice of legalization, but to give us a story behind that film.
Well, it was kind of interesting. We were given the opportunity to go fly out to San Francisco originally and talk to Willie Nelson on his bus and do a little bit of a story. We've talked about it on the show. People who watch it religiously will remember that we were excited to go to San Francisco, and then suddenly we didn't go.
All right.
And we were planning on trying to get into California's legalization movement a little bit while we were there, and then when we ended up in San Diego, we were like, well, we're still in the same state. And we talked, and neither of us had ever associated San Diego with cannabis in our heads, really. We were like, you know, we think of population centers like LA or Humboldt or the Triangle, San Francisco, the Bay, Oakland. I mean, you don't think, nobody thinks. Tijuana maybe, but I didn't even realize Tijuana was so close to San Diego until we landed there, and the first person we interviewed told me that. I was like, oh my gosh, you're right. Like, so it was kind of cool to just be able to try to really dig deep into this California's forgotten cannabis city and meet all these people, out of the industry, who were very adamantly for and against 64, and it was just a very nice smorgasbord of people that we managed to meet in a rapid, I mean, the whole thing was done in 2.5 days and then put together in 6 days and launched. Like, I didn't even really have time to sit with the film
no,
before
you didn't.
people were watching it.
It was more like done with the edit, publish. Let's check out a really quick clip from As California Goes, really quick.
Yeah, here it is.
Still surprised it took this long for educated people to get a little sense.
The end of prohibition is going to come. It's just at what cost?
There is a lot of Wild West.
There's definitely a lot of cannabis use in San Diego.
We are on the precipice of something absolutely huge.
The inevitability of adult use in California really makes this one of the largest markets.
Is that what we want for our children? Because mom and dad are using drugs?
It's never really been legal.
The rest of the world is watching California right now.
I don't dispute that smoking marijuana makes you feel better.
It's going to change everything. Ooh, cannabis, ooh.
It's not as scary as everyone thinks.
California has a progressive way of thinking. They're, in a lot of ways, a little ahead of some of the other states.
San Diego is unique in a couple different ways.
San Diego City is the only municipality within San Diego County that has licensed medical marijuana.
San Diego's not that great a place unless you're one of these, 8 licensed shops.
So many different personality types. There's so many people with so many different agendas.
San Diego is strangely, in many ways, a conservative area. You got a lot of military.
There are so many of us, especially in a conservative area like San Diego. People seem to forget how conservative this town is. We are a military town.
All right, and that was a lot of fun. You and I were out in San Diego for a couple days together, saw a lot of stuff. What about the video that you shot and produced on one of Colorado's best weed yoga classes?
That was a super, super fun one. And this is like when people ask me what I do for a living, and I'm like, well, I'm a marijuana multimedia editor, is really, and they're like, well, what does that mean? And I'm like, well, it covers so much. Like,
not a bad job title.
No, it's real. I mean, it's not as good as marijuana editor, just as by any means. But
I don't know, better for you.
Yeah, it's true. It's super fun, and it's one day I'm on a farm learning more and more about agriculture. The next day I'm learning about cooking. I worked in restaurants, so I love hanging out with edible chefs, and we've had a couple on the show. I've done stories on that too. But the yoga kind of came up as I'd never done yoga before I started getting high in Colorado. And we talked about it on the show, and the opportunity to go out and watch a really high-end class be conducted by people who really, really cared about every step of it, like from the feeling you got when you arrived to how you felt when you left. Every single second, whether the consumers knew it or not, was dictated for them. And it was just so rad to really
curated.
Yeah, and I really appreciated about it. So it kind of, it slowed me down a little bit and made me take a couple more steps. And I think it's one of the more beautiful things that I've ever shot, just because it was long, and I shot the entire thing because that's how I do. I overshoot everything. And I ended up with all of this really beautiful cinematic quality, just footage. And I really took care with the interviews, and just, it was so beautifully shot. And then I sat in my editing bay that night, and when I edit at home, I'm always high, and I listen to the sound first. And it was just such a beautiful radio show that I wanted to kind of get deeper into that sound design for it. They had live music playing during the yoga, and I was like, that's really was my takeaway from the event. It wasn't the people bending nor the people blazing, it was the really awesome atmosphere that these musicians had set.
That was fun, and I was there with you. Let's jump into a quick clip of Vince's take on weed yoga in Colorado.
I'm not sure that I changed how I teach per se. I definitely probably had some more jokes that were leaning toward people being high, but I think it's the same sort of a vibe. I think that's the nice thing about yoga, that you just sort of, you create it in the same fashion, and people are going to take from it what they will depending on their state of mind.
For us, the weed leads everything. You know, we look at all of those flavor profiles and the high that we think that the strain is going to provide for people, and then we wrap a menu around that.
And Vince, I know you're also passionate about a program that you've spearheaded here, and that is these video strain reviews that you do with our pot critics. So tell us what you love about doing these, and maybe a behind-the-scenes story from one of those.
This is the super stony product that I think that we really produce. Out of everything that we do, our strain reviews are our chances just to, like, you know, I take off this flannel shirt and I put on my other flannel shirt, and I'm, you know, my beard gets a little fuller, and I'm that Colorado stoner, and I'm like, this is going to be so much fun to do this. And we get to, you know, one of the pot critics comes over, we shoot him on the roof of my building. It has this beautiful view of Denver and the mountains, and it just feels like a quintessential Colorado up high shot to me. And we get to hang out and be potheads, be nerds about the product. I love reading our reviews. I love reading reviews on other sites. I mean, it's all so in depth, and our critics have a way of just pulling that extra amount of love and that extra amount of really geeky, super nerdy information into it that, like, 99% of the populace doesn't really even care about, but I truly appreciate. And being able to see them do that live is really interesting. And so I've seen other strain reviews where here's a close-up bud porn shot, here's 30 seconds, it'll mess you up, man, and it'll make you happy, and I giggled a lot, and then I ate. And it's 30 seconds, you're in and out, but ours are 5.5 minutes long. They're talking about the genetics of the strain, they're talking about the first crumble through it, and they're more of a commitment than any other reviews that I see on other marijuana sites and from other companies. But I think that they're absolutely worth it, and they just haven't found the right home yet in our viewing audience. I don't know if everybody knows that we're even doing them. Like, go check out one of the strain reviews. Jake Brown and Soham Shah both have one up on our site now. They're gorgeous. The two of them kick ass, and I want to do more of them, so go watch them.
Well, let's check out a clip from a video strain review really quick.
The pine and the earth tend to take kind of a backseat to that chemi smell that's in there. As I said, is likely the result of the OG line of genetics, which is a child or a progeny of the chem. So now I'm going to take this little piece that I just broke off and give it a little squeeze to see how much it decompresses. And this will give us an idea of the moisture. Personally, I would have preferred if it was a little more moist than this and had decompressed a little bit, but I mean, you can see the trichomes breaking off of it. This is just about that prime time to be smoked. Now that we got this frostiness broken up, it looks like my hands are sticky, but I think I can probably tough it out and get this joint rolled.
And I do want to note that you can see all those videos in their full form at thecannabist.co, so check it out. I do want to bring Olivia back into the conversation.
Thank you.
The three of us
Here we
are
are.
Vegas bound in the next 24 hours.
Absolutely.
You know, and I want to take an advantage of having you both on the couch, because as we talk about this evolution of cannabis marketing, design, multimedia journalism, you know, we're addressing a lot of elements that will be addressed at MJ Biz, you know, which is the largest business convention in the game right now. I think they're expecting 6,000 to 8,000 people there in Vegas this weekend. So we're obviously all going there. I want to ask you guys, starting with you, Olivia, why do you make the investment to go to this marijuana conference or another one? Like, if you're talking directly to a ganjapreneur out there who's saying, should I go? Because it's expensive. You know, you have to buy the ticket, you have to buy airfare, hotel typically. So what's the payoff of investing in a pot convention?
Yeah, so there's definitely a lot of different types of conferences that focus on either cultivation or marketing or just different markets of the industry. But I find that MJ Biz Daily in Vegas is the one show that everyone comes to no matter what, because it's kind of, it's almost like a reunion, I want to say. So everyone just gets excited and gets together and parties and has their business conferences, what have you, but it's definitely a blast. So this is my third year going, and I'm really excited. Yeah.
And they really have become that industry leader in this space. You're right. It's summer camp. Everybody kind of just assumes you're going. But Olivia, how do you know it's a win for you when you're flying back home to Denver? How do you know, okay, I got my money's worth out of my investment out of that conference?
Absolutely. So I set up some meetings beforehand with people that I wanted to see. Meeting with some of my clients who are out of state as well. So they're all coming into Vegas. So it's just a great opportunity to meet up with everyone. And I think it's just worth it to be there, honestly. So,
just the connections, yeah. Well, Vince, what about you? I know this is your first.
This is going to be my first marijuana. I did my first convention, period, a few months ago, my first photojournalism convention, and now I'm doing a marijuana convention the same calendar year. It's networking. Come say hi to me. It's gonna. I'll be back by the time you're seeing this. I guess you can't come say hi to me. Networking is what I suck at, so I guess that going out to this is going to be kind of fun for me to practice that and kind of lean into it. I'm excited to see Las Vegas. That's really what's kind of, I've never been
Everybody,
there.
this is Vince's first time to Las Vegas. So
there's an important
we
reason
can all
for
collectively group shame him now or give him props.
Like, I'm not a big gambler. I'm not a huge drinker. I'm not really a party animal. Like, I'd rather be in a punk club with like 10 people than in a giant glitzy casino with 100,000. So it's never really held interest for me. But Nevada now with recreational marijuana coming on the way, I'm very excited for the chance to get out there before legalization hits so that I can see pre-pot Vegas and then post-pot Vegas, and I can actually have that kind of an opinion on it in a couple of years. So
that's a good point.
That's the cool part about it for me.
Well, and I think networking is a huge part of it. Even though Vince will be, might be back here, I think this show will go live Thursday, and I'll be out there still. So reach out to me at Brubs.
Yeah, I'm out there till Friday also.
Yeah, so you will be out there. At Vinny Chan. Olivia, are you on
What's
Twitter?
Your Twitter handle?
Yes, at Cannabrand CO.
Cannabrand CO. You know, speaking of the conference, our second annual Cannabist Awards will be in the books by the time we launch this show. But head over to thecannabist.co, check it out. More than 40 winners in different categories, including hemp, education, technology, community, and the 2016 Cannabist Person of the Year. Check it out. We're very proud of these, the finalists and the actual winners.
And the awards themselves this year were so pretty.
I know.
So
you were showing one off earlier. That
I
was
can't
nice
stop
stuff.
showing them off.
You guys, it's time for the pot quiz.
Oh my gosh.
Things are gonna get interesting. Official MJ Biz pot quiz. Let's do this.
All right.
Olivia, starting with you.
Okay. Well, shoot.
How this works is if you get the question wrong, the answer wrong, he can steal the point and vice versa. So, Olivia. No, this is not a Harrison Ford movie, but name the Colorado politician who recently called the state's gray market for marijuana a, quote, clear and present danger.
Oh, Hickenlooper.
Hickenlooper for the points. That is Colorado Governor John Hickenlooper, who is concerned about the gray market and wants to put a stop to it. He doesn't want criminals thinking they can come here and grow in the shadow of the legal industry and not be noticed. So Important stuff. Check out that story on the Cannabist. Vince.
This is not going to go well.
Oh man, Vince. Name the Colorado city that is now home to a hemp marketplace, aka a strip mall that is home to a marijuana dispensary, a head shop, a grow supply store, and eventually more.
I've looked at pictures of this all week. Aurora?
Aurora!
Yeah, cool.
There you go, okay. We're out of the gate with
there we go.
A point apiece.
The bar is now set.
Moving over to Olivia, okay? Ready?
Yep.
Legalization opponents are considering calling for a recount in what state that just passed recreational weed?
That is Maine.
That is Maine.
Woo!
Well done.
Thank you.
Okay. Man, are my questions too easy this week? Last week they were brutal.
They were brutal. They were all of the, what were the exact titles of
Oh
the
my
bills
goodness.
or laws that were enacted for
I know,
medical or
like,
recreational
okay.
marijuana?
Which one was Maine's? Was
Is it question
Initiative
3 or question
205?
1?
Question 1.
Okay, I like this. This is
Yeah,
a little
right.
more PG.
Okay, so are we going to have a tie quiz
No.
again?
Oh my gosh.
Vince, of the 9 states that voted on marijuana measures last week, only one of those state votes altered an existing medical cannabis program that will remain a medical marijuana program. Name that state.
North Dakota.
Bummer.
No.
There will be no tie. There will be no
I'm okay
tie.
with that.
Olivia kicked to you. You know it's not North Dakota.
So it was a medical state that's remaining medical?
So yeah, only
Okay.
one of those state votes altered an existing medical cannabis program that will stay a medical marijuana program. What state was it?
Ooh, Florida.
Oh.
Florida was going to be my second guess.
You know, technically Florida is kind of right because it's CBD.
Right.
They had a very limiting CBD, which then became a. So
Was it Montana?
it is Montana.
there we go.
Yeah. So ultimately, Montana voters were just voting on loosening up their existing state program because you guys might remember a couple months ago, legislators and lawmakers there held each dispensary to the promise that they would each only service 3 patients apiece.
Oh
I
my
do
gosh.
remember hearing that.
So
one.
they
Yeah.
ultimately
ridiculous.
altered that. So I think technically you get the point because
I'll give it to
Florida
you.
is right.
I
and
control those dings in post-production. You'll have one.
Thank you.
I love it. Olivia,
Thank
Vince,
you.
thank you guys for joining me. It's so fun having you on the couch, my friend.
Yeah, man,
and
happy to be here with you.
looking forward to Vegas, and we're looking
Absolutely.
forward to seeing all of you guys in Vegas. So, hey, thank you for joining us at the Cannabist Show. Feel free to tell your friends about us, tell your parents about us, like we were talking about last week. And I want to thank producer Vince and producer Don. We will see you guys next week with more action, and we'll see you then.
Awesome.
I'm allowed to lose, I choose to win, I'm all in, I'm calling any posse, you'll be raising at the end, I say it again, ain't afraid to get in, I be going for the jackpot with aces in my hand, I'm raw.